must confess, I still believe, still believe. Hey, what's going on, y'all? Patrick here, and I've been asked quite a few times for a office, studio, whatever you want to call it, rundown. I thought this would be a really fun time to just go through that and hell, look through the bass collection too and the pedal collection too while we're at it. So yeah, let's just jump right in. So I figured to get started, we should go ahead and start with the obvious thing about this channel, basses. So over the years, I've collected an insane amount of different basses and guitars and bought them, sold them, traded them throughout. Regretted some of those trades and buys, regretted some of those sellings, but then at the same time, it happens. There's just a lot of tremendously fun and eye-opening instruments out there. And I love to be able to try different ones. And you know what? Some of them work, some of them don't work. So let's just go ahead and see what the collection is right now. Starting with my wine red PVT-40. Man, I love this bass. So I used to have a natural PVT-40, if you remember that video from years ago, but I went ahead and sold it. That was one of those things where I talk about having mistakes and regrets. That was definitely one of them. So whenever this one showed up on my local Craigslist for $250 with the hard shell case in this beautiful wine red, yeah, I definitely took it, to say the least. I was so excited. And for such an incredible cost too. These normally go from like $500 on the low side to about $859 on the high side, which is ridiculous. These are not $900 basses, in my opinion. But yeah, this bass is just so crazy, a little weird, super heavy, and just a real product of its time. PV used to make some incredible instruments, and the T40 is definitely one of those. One of the things I noticed when I first bought the bass is that the regular nut was broken, so I just had to buy a metal nut, so I don't think that one's ever gonna break. But yeah, this is definitely one of those I'm never selling basses. Next to that, we have the Sterling by Music Man Ray 34 Poplar Burl. And y'all, I love the Sterling by Music Man stuff at basically half to a third of the price of the American counterpart. And they just hold up really well. I love the roasted maple neck on this thing, and just really, you can get some incredible tones with it too. I will say though, I do have one disappointment about this bass, and that is over the 2.5, 3 years that I've been playing it, the G-string tuner has actually started to strip on the back of it, so I need to replace the tuners. But other than that, it's an amazing bass for a really good price. And then next to that is one of the newest additions to the collection, and that is right here, the Fender Justin Meldal Johnson signature Mustang bass. And y'all, when I made the video over this a couple months ago, I honestly couldn't give it back, and I had to have it. This bass is so wicked. I love the short scale feel of it. I love the relicking, the pickup, just the entire feel and vibe of this bass is to die for, and they did such an amazing job with it too. And then next to that, we have the Dingwall NG2. Never gonna get rid of this bass, my first fan fret bass. And really, after I took it home from NAMM the other year, like I've just fell in love with this bass over and over again. No one, in my opinion, does fan frets like Dingwall. It just feels so perfect, and the neck is so slim, so quick too. And I just love the punchiness that you can always get with the Dingwall. But now that I have, of course, said that the fan fret system on the Dingwall is absolutely perfect, here's a Spectre Dimension 5. It's wicked. I love how meaty and thick you can get some of the tones with the Fishman Fluence pickups, and really that B string just, it hits so good, so beautifully too, and one of my favorites from last year that I'm definitely keeping around. So next up we have my tried and true, my 2002, 2003 made in Mexico Fender jazz bass. Basically, if you've seen any of my videos pretty much, you'll know that I use this bass all the time. It is my #1 bass. It is my take it to the grave with me bass, all the above. Next to that, we have my Midnight Blue made in Mexico jazz bass, and this one was stock for a really long time. It used to actually be my backup bass on tour, and I actually sanded down the Midnight Blue finish, and now it has this like really purple hue to it. It's really weird, but really cool at the same time. And now I actually put in some Seymour Duncan Apollo pickups that just sound incredible. Wow. So I have to say, this is a great backup bass, but also just a great bass in general. And this is the fun, super cheap P bass that I bought like 2 years ago off of Wish.com for like $53 or something like that. And then went ahead and upgraded as much as I could. And it's a pretty awesome, solid bass now, I have to say. Will it stay with me forever? Probably not. I really don't know how much money I could honestly get for it though. It's just a $53 bass with some upgrades to it. But still, a really fun, super rockin' P bass. Here we have the Harley Benton RB414. Obviously, it's their take on the jazz bass. No, it's obviously, their take on the Rickenbacker. And it's really awesome. I actually do plan and really want to make this a mod project this year, just because if you watch any of Low and Lobster's videos, man, you can turn these into one hell of a modded beast. And that's what I want to do with this thing. I love playing it the way it is, and I think it sounds really good stock. But of course, let's see how much better it can play and how much better it can sound too with some mods. In this bass, we should really pay our respects to the HBZ 4000 from Harley Benton. And y'all, what's really sad is that this bass got discontinued. I don't know why. I don't know if it's indefinite or what. This is just hands down the best budget bass I've ever played. It was about $400 brand new, and it just has so many great features to it. It looks and plays fantastic and just sounds damn good too. But again, maybe Harley Benton will bring it back one day. I don't know. But in the meantime, I do have a pair of Fishman Fluence bass pickups that fit perfectly in there that I'm definitely going to throw in. The Ibanez EHB 1005MS. Man, there's so many different things I want to say about this bass, but essentially, it's a fantastic plain bass. It feels amazing. The sound just isn't there. I absolutely hate the Bartolini pickups in it, and that's why it doesn't really make an appearance on the channel at all. It's just because I love how it plays, I love how it feels, but it just does not sound quite there yet. And now I've been looking at different pickup options. I think I've set on the Aguilars, but I'm just not quite there yet, not quite ready to spend $300 towards it right now either, so it's just another project in the works. But again, fantastic feeling and playing bass that I hope to make sound just as good as it does play. My Made It in Mexico Fender P bass. This is a fantastic P bass, and I love playing it now that I've also strung it with flats too. It's so much fun. But I think I need to get a vintage pickup in there. Right now it has a Seymour Duncan quarter pounder, so it's super thick and super heavy, but I think I just need a more vintage wound pickup for this bass because I do want to make it a dedicated flats P bass. And it just needs a little bit of a warmer, more vintage-esque, not so hot and heavy that's in there now. But this bass is super fun, and I also put a gold anodized pick guard on it too that I got off of Reverb. That just suits the sunburst so pleasantly in my opinion. And then for the last bass on the wall, we have the Harley Benton HB60WB. Now this is a wicked semi-hollow bass that just sounds really damn good, especially for the price too. I actually really enjoyed the toaster pickups that are on it, and it just has a nice, very mellow sound to it overall, and it sounds fantastic with a fuzz thrown in front of it too. So that's all for the hanging guitars, but I do have a 5-guitar stand at the front of the room that I have some goodies on, including this Squire Jazzmaster that I got actually last December. It's one of the Classic Vibe series, has a gold anodized pick guard, and it just sounds really cool. Then we have the Epiphone Xtura, I think that's what it's called, but basically, it's an Explorer. It's awesome. I love having both of these guitars because it gives me more dynamics and lets me have more fun with making demo tracks. If I just want to add guitar tracks to it, it makes it that much more fun and sound that much better to me personally. Then we have another project bass. I know I have way too many as it is already, but basically this is a PJ bass, I think is all Squire pretty much, that I got off of Craigslist for 30 bucks years ago. And as you can see, it's a homemade fretless job. I have no idea what the electronics are. They basically don't exist by this point, but I think this is a great fretless project mod that I can go ahead and try my best to put together into something cool, especially with the electronics. I really want to try something different than just the PJ configuration that's already in there. Then my Sire by Marcus Miller V7 bass. This is an awesome active bass, and as you can see, I went ahead and kind of made my own headstock with it. I hate the Sire headstocks as they are with the 4-in-line ones. They just do not look good to me on the V series. And it has just a little bit of cut off, and it worked out really well. And of course you can see my little apologies to Marcus right there on the headstock too. And then finally, my crappy guitar that I got last year. Absolutely love this thing. This is just simply put, it's a crappy guitar, yeah, but it's awesome. It does so many cool things, and at the same time, it does absolutely nothing cool at all. Love how it plays, love how it sounds, so unique, so weird, so stupid, and so inexpensive too. Love this thing. So for amps, we have both the Dark Glass Electronics Microtubes 500 V2 as well as the new E500 from Dark Glass. And I have to say the E500 is something that I am so excited to eventually take for gigging because just the possibilities under the hood of it are so vast that the idea of just being able to automatically switch between presets that have completely different effects on it is so exciting to me. But the Microtubes 500 V2 is a fantastic amp in itself as well. And these are the cabinets that I have. I have the Dark Glass DG212N, that is 4 ohms, I believe, and then the Gallien-Kruger CX210, which is 8 ohms. And I don't use both at the same time, even though that would be really cool if I did. But they're both just completely different sounding cabs, and I love the way that both of them sound. But since I don't really use them to actually play any demos or something like that, for the most part, sometimes I do, they usually just stay in the closet, and that's fine, because they stay safe there. So here in the dresser across from where I film, there's a lot of bass stuff, pedals, accessories, all my kits and everything like that, as well as filming accessories too. Our first 2 shelves are dedicated basically to pedals and also extra cables and whatnot. The third shelf is dedicated to mainly strings, as well as accessories, think extra cables and stuff like that. And then the bottom shelf is basically all the extra camera gear that I have too, as well as just any other extra gear in general. All right, so for my pedals, there's a lot of them, and I've actually sold quite a few recently too. But basically, I was just going to split it up into different sections, starting with the dirt right here. So basically the Tech 21 VT Bass DI. This is a really cool sounding preamp dirt pedal. I just don't use it a lot, but it has a very unique and different sound from different preamps that I have. Next to that, we have the Solid Gold Effects Imperial Mark II, and I love this fuzz. It's so nasty and gnarly in the coolest ways. Next to that is the KMA Machines Chief Disruptor, and this is probably one of the most ultimate big muff, like all-in-one pedals I've ever played, complete with full EQ settings as well as clean blend and even more on top of that. Y'all can watch that demo, and it is just such a fun pedal to me. Next to that is the Gray Stash, which was my go-to fuzz pedal forever, and I still love this pedal to death. It's so simple, very straightforward, but a lot of fun with a lot of different options at hand too. And then to the right of that, we have the Orange Fur Coat, which is an octave fuzz that sounds so good and so powerful. And when you add that octave to it, so nasty too. I love being able to blend it exactly how much of the octave too I want in there. On the second row, we start with a lot of our Dark Glass pedals. So the Dark Glass Microtubes B7K Ultra. Love it to death. Of course, it's the B7K. It's classic by this point. Next to that is the Vintage Deluxe, and this is actually the first generation, if I remember correctly. So yeah, you'll notice that it doesn't have any of the extra knobs or switches on it. It's just straightforward the Vintage Deluxe. This thing has gone back and forth with me throughout the country on tours, and I love it to death. Next to that is the Duality. I miss the Duality. It is a killer fuzz pedal, and I want Dark Glass to bring either the Duality back in its own new way, or just go ahead and make an all new fuzz pedal. But the Duality is a really cool fuzz pedal, especially for bass. Next to that is the Boss DS1. I think at some point I wanted to go ahead and try and mod this pedal, but I just, never went ahead and did that. But it's a DS1. It doesn't sound bad on bass at all, in my opinion. And I think, for a $40 pedal, it's wicked and just classic. Next to that, we have the little fella from Fuzzrocious. I am so glad I bought this pedal. I make the shorts where it's just like name that bass line. And the little fella I think has been used for most of them, if not all of them, because you can go from a simple overdrive sound to a crazy balls to the wall fuzz tone that just goes crazy. And I absolutely love it. And it's less than $200 too. Then the Maleko JMJ, so Justin Meldal Johnson Diabolic. This is such a weird fuzz pedal, and it's so badass. At the bottom row, we have the Microtubes X7. I mean, it's the X series. It's gnarly. It is pretty intense and a lot to take in, but the low gain sounds are also really cool. Then we have the Alpha Omega Photon. I absolutely love this pedal in the different ways I'm able to capture different tones, and not only that, but have all the different options at hand and presets too. And then finally, the tried and true B3K that I love to death. This has also been on tour with me, left and right around the entire country, and it has never failed me. It's just the first generation of it. The newer ones are even better, but man, I love this pedal to death. So here are the rest of my pedals that aren't really dirt related, but more so pitch or modulation or something like that. So at the very top left, we have the Ernie Vol Volume Pedal Junior. I absolutely love this thing, and I love combining it with, say, a delay pedal. That way you can have the coolest volume swells. I love doing that stuff live. Next to that is the original Digitech bass whammy. Now this thing's cool with a big caveat next to it because I want to love it. I really do, but it doesn't track the best and it doesn't always sound the best. I bought this thing years ago for actually a really good price. I think that if I keep playing with it like periodically, randomly, that I'll be like, hey, this is like going to encourage me to go ahead and make a video over this. And it's a really cool pedal, but it's just, again, not the greatest. Next to that is the TC Electronic Ditto Looper. Love the thing, and it comes in really handy when making demos. Then under that is the Donner Echo Square. I made a video with all those Donner pedals, and I love this little delay pedal. And it's like $50, I think, $40, and it's just a really awesome delay pedal. Next to that is the Akai Deep Impact SB1. This is such a insane piece of gear that I'm still trying to learn properly before I make a video over it. But essentially, a giant synth modulation crazy pedal that you don't really see around anymore, and it's been on a ton of big records. Like for instance, Chris from Muse used this for a lot of their big songs, and it just has such a cool sound to it overall. But again, I just want to sort of get to know more about it before I go ahead and make a video over it. Next to that is the M Audio Expression Pedal. I think I got this thing for like 25, 30 bucks. And it's just what I use for when I need an expression pedal, and it works really well too. Now going from the left side, we have the Korg Pitch Black Tuner. It's a tuner. It does what it needs to, and I really appreciate that. Never failed me on tour, and it's always going to be on my board whenever I make new iterations of the board. Then we have the Fuzzrocious Electric Ocean. It's a fuzz, yes, but it's also a phase pedal, and you can put them together and switch it around, and it's so rad. The next pedal board I'm putting together, I'm definitely putting that on it. It is such an awesome pedal. Next to that, the Dark Glass Element. Absolutely love this thing, and I was using it to record for a while too for the demo videos. But I've just gone ahead and just done plugins recently, and I've been really happy with that. But the Element is such a great cab sim and just headphone amp too that just does a lot and is super convenient. Then the Fuzzrocious Knob John, just so fun to play around with, especially where you can go ahead, get the volume and get the pitch exactly where you want it and just have a lot of fun with it. The Omni Cab Sim, this is just a killer piece of gear, and I used it for years. Then what I really love is this is the Fuzzrocious Hunt or Hunted, and that was just a really fun collaboration that Ryan from Fuzzrocious and I did for an April Fool's video a few years back. That was just an absolute blast. I have no idea what I'm going to do for April Fool's this year, if anything. But yeah, it was just such a fun thing and such a fun one-off that Ryan and Shannon made. And I really appreciate not only their friendship, but, you know, working together with them professionally too. Then on the bottom row, we have the Ibanez DE7 delay pedal. Love this delay to death. It has always been my favorite delay and just never failed me at any point, and just been a lot of fun both in studio and on the road. The Seymour Duncan Studio Bass Compressor. This is a wicked compressor pedal. I still don't know a whole lot about compressors, but they're a lot of fun to play around with and can really make a big difference in the tones that you get. The Boss Octave OC5, super fun, super awesome, just octave pedal that does a really great job on bass. And I don't have, again, any experience with the OC2, but the OC5 just does a perfect job. Then the Ibanez CS9 Chorus. I love this chorus pedal, and it was on my board for years. Will also be on my future iteration of the board too, just because it's a great chorus pedal. It has that whoom whoom sound to it. It's super wide, and it just sounds fantastic. And then finally, this is really cool because this is just simply a kill switch made of an Altoids tin. And yeah, I soldered this together when I was 15, I think. It's super simple, and yeah, there's nothing really special about it at all. It's just I put this together when I was 15, and I was really proud of it. For camera gear, starting with the cameras and the lenses themselves, my main camera right now is the Canon R6, and then my main lens is the Sigma 18-35 f1.8. I absolutely love this lens to death. It is so handy and so useful in so many different situations, and considering how cheap it is too for how sharp of a picture you get, it's a fantastic lens. Then for backup, I have my Canon 70D as well as the extra lenses, my 24mm and 50mm as well. All three of these lenses are pretty cheap compared to what a lot of lenses out there are, but they get the job done really well, and I'm just really pleased with the picture that I have right now. But I do think I will eventually switch on over to the Sony Alpha line eventually. But for right now, still loving Canon and just enjoying what I have now. For my computer rig, it's a pretty basic setup. Basically, here's my tower with all the specs right here. I think I completed this iteration of the computer itself at the end of 2019. I mean, if I had known what was going to happen starting in March of 2020, needless to say, I think I would have upgraded a little bigger and better, but at the same time, I'm not mad with what I have now. I have my Acer ultra-wide monitor that I'm super pleased with, and I think eventually when OLED screens become much cheaper and more available for the ultra wide setup that I want, then I will go with that. Then for my interface, I have my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. Focusrite always makes superb products and just does a great job with their interfaces. And then for my monitors, I have two JBL LSR 305s that I've had for years now, but they do a fantastic job as well. For headphones, I'm using the Beyerdynamic DT770 Pros. These I actually got on sale, and I'd always been wanting to try the DT770s because I've heard so many great things about them. And I have to say that they have not disappointed at all, and they are insanely comfortable too. For lights, we basically just have a 3-light setup always. I have these two Niwar panels that have worked really well for me. I usually keep them about 53 to 5400, and then we also have this GMV studio head too that works really well, and I really like it too. I've never really spent a whole lot of money on lights. I try and do what I can with what I have for the most part, but maybe one day I'll go ahead and splurge on a bunch of different lights, who knows. So over here above the dresser, you'll see that we just have a bunch of different things, such as just like hang posters, as well as just some pictures that I really like. I'm a very big sentimental person as well. So really any pictures I have of my fiance and I, and then my brother and I too, I just love those to death. Oh, I also forgot that the slice of pie I put up here as well. So include that with all the other fuzzes that I have. So in terms of my studio, office, whatever you want to call it, that's about it. Thank y'all so much for watching as always and just kind of taking this journey with me. I have to say, after years and years of doing this, going through different spots, hell, my first videos were all shot in my parents' house. And I've gone through a couple of different houses since then. Unfortunately, I'm not a buyer yet, just renting still, but still fortunate enough to be able to afford that place with my job and my fiance's job and everything. But maybe one day we'll be able to afford a house and make some sort of dream filming studio of some sort, which would be really, pretty amazing. But you know what? I'm happy with everything I have now. I'm beyond blessed in every single way. And it's just been a fun ride so far. Thank y'all so much, seriously, for watching. I truly do appreciate it, y'all, for watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, all that like seriously crazy stuff. Thank y'all so much for the support over the years. And I've just kind of gone through a weird, just like writer's block sort of thing when it comes to videos lately, it feels like. But I don't know, I still want to make them. I just don't know if like my time off here recently, it's just been me trying to decompress from not only moving and just life changes and stuff like that. And of course, some kind of big stuff's happened over the past couple years. I don't know exactly what it's called, something 17, 18, 19, something like that. But y'all, of course, thank y'all so much for everything. I truly do appreciate it. Humongous thank you to my Patreon people right here. They just look beautiful as always. Mwah. But again, thank y'all as always for watching. And no matter where in the world you are, stay safe, practice that bass, and I'll see y'all next time.